Hi, you guys. I just got out of the shower. Unfortunately, I'm like back to back today. So much to do, so little time. So I wanted to jump right on here and get this video up as quick as I could. So this video is about The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, season 12, episode 5. It's a recap, but then I'll drop some gossip as I usually do in between on things. So, okay, let's start off with a few things. Number one, I just want to say, if you guys haven't seen Shah Shocker, before Jen Shah's trial comes out in July, I got her trial date. It's July 18th, it begins. So make sure you watch that because Jen Shah has been putting it down left and right and making it like, oh, you shouldn't watch it because it's not based on facts and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me just tell you, the ABC producers are pretty responsible and conservative. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. I'm saying it because they really, really took care. Now, what's in it is all the allegations explained in the current indictment by a bunch of experts and professionals and people who covered it and people who have sleuthed and found things. It's not the first time people have done a documentary type show like this. It's not, groundbreaking. Jen Shah should be honored that they thought that she was like important enough to do it on, frankly. But anyway, I know she's been going out in the tabloids and on Up and Adam's little interview that he did saying like, don't watch it because it's based on, no facts and this and that. That's just not accurate. It's based on the allegations. And as you will see, everything is properly labeled. Okay, there's no one trying to mislead people into who someone is or why they're commenting. So definitely check it out before Jen's trial on July 18th. I wanted to say that on this video. Now let's move on to Beverly Hills. Oh, by the way, if you don't know where Shah Shocker is, it's on Hulu. Okay, and you can probably, between you and me, find probably pieces of it now on YouTube because you know how it goes. All right, so Beverly Hills. Okay, well, let's first off and talk about Patrick. So Patrick Somers, the alleged marketing guy, PR guy, assistant, aspiring reality star, he takes on a different role each day. His last allegation was that Lisa Rinna and him had set up this whole scam on social media where he would pretend to threaten her and then she would, retaliate and they would play it out online and, would bring her a great storyline for next season. So let's just be clear. Lisa Rinna is saying that she has never met Patrick Somers in her life and knows him from nowhere. And the DMs that he's using have been taken out of context of her speaking with him, as a fan, which she sometimes does. Well, many people do this on Instagram. So I think that's what's really, and I have it on very good authority that she's incredibly freaked out by Patrick Somers and what he's trying to say is going on. Now, one thing I thought was really weird, and I'll end this because I don't want to give this guy any more attention because he's like just silly. I can't believe he's pulled off what he's pulled off, honestly. But the one thing I want to say is that it is strange to me that Page Six picked up on the story as if when he posted the receipts, it somehow proved something and gave him some sort of like enough clout to appear in Page Six. That was anyway, weird. It's very shocking to me that Page Six would pick up on a totally baseless, like, interaction between Lisa Rinna and some random guy on social media. And I always wonder, like, who's talking to Page Six? Because they talk to a lot of people. They don't always post what they talk about with people. You know what I mean? I've told them some serious gossip and somehow it never gets on. It never gets in Page Six. I'm like, okay, but then they'll pick up something less juicy and they'll talk about it. So I'm like, what is it with Page Six? Like, how do they decide what to cover? I guess is what I wonder. So anyway, we'll have to see, but that was odd. You guys comment below on what you think about that. Don't tell me that it's Kathy Hilton, making Page Six talk about it to take the homophobic comments off her. Tell me that it's Lisa Rinna who's trying to, change the narrative, that she doesn't look like she's involved with Patrick Somers, because she really is, because I already know the truth about both of those things. What I want to know is, what else could it be that Page Six would cover this? Okay, so the episode 5 opens up with Chantel and Garcelle in Ventura County, and they're talking about a house they're going to tear down for an investment or maybe for their family. And they show their designs and drawings of their beach house that they're going to make. And we get a little feeling for Garcelle's relationship with her sister, which seems like okay. All right, then we move on. And oh, by the way, Chantel lives in Miami. Thought that you guys would find that interesting. I think a lot of Garcelle's family is in Miami. Okay, then we find out that Lois has gone into hospice. She's had a stroke. And we find out that Lois has passed away. And the show does a beautiful montage of like a little short shout out memorial to Lois, which was very sweet. Because Lisa discloses that Lois really enjoyed being famous through her and got a kick out of it. And the show shows homage. Anyway, there's a few different lunches and, people having conversations about how bad they feel for Lisa losing Lois because they're so close. And Dorit mentions that she wants to get the girls together in Punta, Mexico, because she wants to face her fears and start living her life again. And this is her step forward in doing so. The women seem really excited about the trip. Diana Jenkins offers her private jet. Dorit calls it, PJ, which I thought was just so gag me, but whatever. She calls a private jet PJ. It's like I've never heard anyone in Beverly Hills be like, she's charging up the PJ. I'm like, what? Okay. Anyway, so yeah. And then we talk a little bit about Paris's wedding. We hear a funny story about when Paris Hilton is being, do you want to marry Carter Riem? And she goes, yeah. And that made Kyle laugh. And anyway, we get to see a glimpse of her Tiffany-colored invitations, which Mauricio loves these invitations. Okay, I forgot to mention that Diana Jenkins drives over to Kyle Richards' house and gets lost in her Bentley. And Kyle makes a joke about how Bentleys are super, their GPS sucks, but they're a really expensive car. I do want to say that I had a Bentley and the GPS was terrible on the car. So I just wanted to say that I agree. And yeah, no, it was GPS, just forget it. I don't know, something about, I guess, UK craftsmanship and tech don't mix. Anyway, we find out when Diana Jenkins and Kyle have this get together at her house that Farrah's engaged. Diana shares a story that she lost her baby at 4 or 5 months recently, a baby boy. And it really, got her thinking about the value of life, and she wants to try again. She might try one more time, she says. We do see this really epic coverage of Kyle's new house. And I have to say, I was shocked. It's way nicer than her other house she had in Beverly Hills. So I was like, wow. Very beautiful. So congrats, Kyle. I love your house. Okay. Then we see that Sutton and Garcelle are having lunch. And Garcelle's like, Sutton, what the hell could you have said that was dark? Please think about it. So Sutton's thinking. The only thing I could have said to Crystal that was dark was that I believe that I am trying to always be inclusive, and I taught my children that. And I told her a story about how in my pool or my hot tub I had a Chinese child. This is exactly what she said. Chinese child, my kid, a red-haired girl that looked like she was from some, I guess, I don't know what she meant, Irish or something, and black in all together. And I thought, this is the way it should be. This is what Sutton's story was. And so Garcelle listens to the story and she's like, I'm sure she's thinking, well, it could be considered maybe, the way she's kind of segmenting everybody into a bucket could be considered You know, not great. But at the same time, it's not dark or problematic or, you know, I don't know. Like it didn't have malintention behind it. It wasn't like she wasn't full of malice and racism in saying it. So Garcelle can't figure it out. She's like, it can't be that. And Sutton's like, well, it's the only thing I can think of that I said that could have been off-putting to Crystal. So everybody meets at the private airport, as Dorit calls it, the PJ airport. By the way, you guys, what bothers me so much about that is it's such a pretentious way of saying it that even in Beverly Hills, like if I had heard someone say that, I would have been like, the PJ. Like, what do you think you know, it's like, oh, you know, like a guy with lockjaw, like from like the 1960s would say that. You know, like, ooh, fire up the jet. It's time to go. You know, schnookums, get the PJ going. Like that, you know, it's just so silly. I was like, Dorit's trying so hard to pretend she's like something she isn't. I mean, I'm from Greenwich, Connecticut, a period of my life anyway, and she's up the street. It's not like everybody was like, oh, grip, you know. I mean, certainly there were people who wore ascots, okay? But nobody was saying, fire up the PJ. So all the girls seem very touched by Lois's passing. Lisa basically starts the Punta, Mexico trip with Lois would want me to go on this trip, even though she passed away 2 days ago, because she'd want me to have fun or whatever. And that they're off. And we don't see very much interaction on the jet, unlike Ultimate Girls Trip. Which, and I have to say, I do feel like there's an awkwardness amongst the women that I can't put my hands on. Like I only feel like there's a real friendship between Garcelle and Sutton and Erika and Lisa. I feel like everybody else is just really kind of, I don't know. So they get there and they get in their vans, and I thought it was really shady that Kyle says, all the awkward people are in one van, ha 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 ha. And the awkward people are Garcelle, Sutton, Crystal, and Erika. First of all, what is this word awkward like being thrown around all the time? Like, wasn't it like Diana Jenkins like criticized Sutton for that? I think Crystal at some point criticized Sutton for that. And now Kyle's kind of using it against all the women. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, since when being awkward is such a negative thing, right? What's wrong with being awkward? I think a lot of really amazing people are awkward. I'm awkward. Anyway, cool is overrated. Kyle. And I thought that was also pretty ironic because Kyle's awkward. Let's just call it what it is. Anyway, so I do love that they then show the shade that Garcelle is throwing on the other van because they're simultaneously shading each other. So it's not like there's a bunch of innocent people hanging out, you know. And Garcelle says, I bet you Dorit is using her Spanish to show on camera, basically. You know, this is what she was like, wink, wink. On camera that she speaks fluent Spanish, right? Because she's like, Dorit's going to show off, you know, that she's got this ability. And Sutton's kind of, being that she's well-traveled, says, well, everybody in Mexico speaks English and will answer her in English. So it's kind of like, you know, it's definitely for the purpose of being like showy, trying to show off. And that's the shade that goes on. Now, on the one side, Dorit could be just trying to practice her Spanish. I mean, there is that. But I do get where Garcelle and Sutton are coming from, and that, you know, she does every opportunity she gets show on camera the multiple languages she speaks to kind of demonstrate that she is like brighter than just, you know, I don't know, like brighter than what? I don't know. That she's bright in general. I think also to show that she's worldly, you know, that she's like, you know, international. I don't know, Dorit has a real idea of herself that I think she's always trying to achieve in the way she presents herself, wealth-wise, clothing-wise, looks-wise, how she speaks. I think all of it's made up. It's like a character that she wants to, that she idolizes. And so she's become instead of herself. Okay, so then Diana Jenkins, stylist, as usual, arrives early in the hotel, runs around, makes sure it's ready, says, you know, we need more hangers basically, and we wish the closet was taller. Can you make the closet bigger? I mean, her stylist actually is very interesting to me. I thought she's kind of a hipster person, don't you think? The stylist, I liked her. I was like, too bad she's not on the show. But she seems like no nonsense. Get another feeling of how rich Diana Jenkins is. The room that she has seems to be much bigger and larger than the other women's rooms because they show it all on camera. So it's like Diana must have, you know, production gets the room, so Diana must have upgraded the room to like a better room. And so production shot it or whatever to show her lavish lifestyle. Anyway, Diana's like, oh my God, can you believe how many clothes I brought for 2 days? And, you know, so I'm eye rolling and I'm like, how many times are we going to see this shtick? Like, you know, people overpacking on Beverly Hills Housewives. Like, no, it's just, think of something else, guys. Think of something else, production. Anyway, Erika shows up with a bag. I'm going to mimic it. Just one sec. This is what Erika's purse looks like. And she comments that she could hit someone with it. Just saying, just to try to give you a visual. Anyway, they all go to dinner. And of course, Erika comes with the bowling ball purse. And she basically says, I love funny purses. And she sits down and says, you know, I could hit you guys with this purse. Like her, and she's just constantly fighting, hitting people. It's like her thing. I don't know. She just wants to be angry. Wild animal Erika. So Dorit comes late to this dinner that they're having in Mexico, and that's because the hotel put her on the ground floor and she's scared that someone might, I guess, jump in her balcony and hurt her. So she asked to be moved to a different room, so she loses a lot of time to be glammed up. I don't know. I kind of felt like that. I wish they hadn't put that in. I totally understand why she did that. I'm not belittling it for the storyline, but I did feel like it was a little tone deaf because there's a lot of people that live in really dangerous situations, and a 5-star hotel in Mexico in a suite on the ground floor just isn't one of them. And although I know they're trying to get across that she's been internally scarred, I felt like they could have probably edited that out. They didn't need that in the edit. I'm not blaming Dorit. I'm really blaming the producers for being really tone deaf on that one. Anyway, we move on, and we basically, nobody has anything to say with each other. Just dead silence, which I thought was so weird. Like, usually at least they're shooting the shit and then they go into the drama. This was weird. It was like dead quiet. So they're, you know, everyone's like not wanting to talk. And then I forget who it is, Erika or Garcelle, you know, basically say, you know, why is everybody so quiet? Because they ask about like what happened this last week because Lisa wasn't around. And so everybody wants to tell the story about how Crystal basically implied that Sutton was a racist. And so everyone's like awkward about it. Again, poorly produced scene, okay? So what happens is everybody starts to tell the story about, you know, Kyle takes the position that Crystal's trying to gaslight the audience, basically, by making it sound like Sutton did something a lot worse than she really did. And Sutton is upset because she's, you know, she's trying to avoid using the word racism, right? She's trying to use like words like, I'm sorry what I said made you feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry what I said wasn't appropriate or was, you know, whatever it was, okay? And then Erika's like, look, everybody's going to fill in the blanks. What you're really saying is that you're upset that Crystal would imply that you said something racist in Utah and you apparently haven't, or you don't think you have. And then Sutton says what she thinks it was, which is this like pool hot tub story, and is really upset. She's like, I am not racist, and I'm really upset by this, you know, that someone would come for me like this on the show, basically, and that Crystal would intentionally bring back an old subject matter that was kind of put to bed, basically to have a storyline this season and throw me under the bus. Like, that's the read between the lines, you know. Being that I was on the show, I know where their headspace is. And So Sutton is basically saying, I can't believe you, Crystal, took a storyline that you knew was already awful, we put behind us, and you're making me do it again this season. And she's like, I thought you were my friend. Now, this is the best part of the episode, okay? This is the juicy AF part. Sutton says, I heard a rumor about you, Crystal, that you find the most powerful person in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast, and you become friends with them and cuddle up to them so that you can get power or whatever. And then you take someone out that you see like to be weaker than you. And she said, I heard that from a very good like friend of yours. I'm thinking to myself, wonder if that was Teddy Mellencamp, because Teddy and Crystal are really good friends off the show. And I think Teddy's pissed that Crystal's on the show because she brought Crystal into casting and then Teddy got kicked off the show the same season. So she's got to be a little bit ouchy ouch there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Teddy has said that, especially when she heard Kyle was kind of like, Crystal's gaslighting Sutton with this whole racist thing again. I have a feeling that Kyle and Teddy gossiped. I mean, we'll probably hear it on her show soon because she does everything for her podcast with Tamra. But like, I have a feeling Teddy was the one who dragged Crystal behind her back and said all this gossip. Just my theory. And I think it's because she's still pissed. Deeply, I do. She'll be like, oh no, I'm really higher. I'm good. I love her. We're good friends. I'm so happy for her. She'll be like that. But deep down, I know. I know the truth, Teddy. So I think, yeah, that's what I think. That's my speculation on that. And that's the friend that probably leaked it to Kyle, that leaked it to Sutton. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, that's the end of the episode. We leave it there. And next week, we're going to, I guess, get into the gossip that Sutton is now spreading on Crystal since she did that to her. A tit for tat, if you will. A tit for tat. Anyway, as I always say, no one's your real friend on the show. Remember season 3? I'm sitting with Taylor on the show and I'm drunk. They call it the train wreck scene if you want to Google it. And I'm drunk and I'm saying to her, none of these bitches are your friends. Like, stop pretending like, you know, they would throw you under the bus in a heartbeat, because I'm hearing all the stuff they were talking about Taylor at the time. It was awful stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, to their face, you know, to her face, they're being so nice, but like behind her back, they're dragging her left and right. So, yup, I said it first, okay? What I said in season 3 still stands on this season. Okay, you guys, I love you. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Sorry there's not more tea on this one, but frankly, there hasn't been a lot floating around at the moment.